All right. Sorry, just clicking some buttons. Hey guys, for those who don't know, I think Juliet stated it. I'm Juliet's husband. A little bit about me before I get started. I don't want to take too much of your time, guys, but for all the fresh faces, it's awesome to see. Um, I usually run through some info that takes about 15, 20 minutes. I really considered it of value, and I really thought to partner up with Juliet to help with these calls to really go over in depth on how you can apply it in somewhat of this business model, right? But for those who are new, it's been about 3 weeks since we've been putting this into practice. So really for today, guys, I'm going to be going over basically the past 3 weeks and really consolidate it all for you guys to take notes. And for those who have been on these calls for the past 3 weeks, you guys, it's like a review, which is good because then you can really, I think, understand it more in depth. A little bit about me before I get started, guys, to put some context. I think it helps. For those who don't know, I've worked with Juliet in the past of network marketing businesses, and we've had a lot of fun. And I really understood the business model to really know the benefits of not only enhancing your mindset, but really be challenged all throughout different personalities and cultures, right? To live and really survive in this, you want to be at the most optimal state. So I thought all the stuff that I learned, we can contribute and become the best versions of ourselves to better yet, not only serve our team, but the potentials, prospects, clients, and really just have this mission of fulfillment because it's really important based off of what you do every single day, right? So without further ado, I'm going to really consolidate all 3 weeks and see if y'all consider it of value. You can definitely ask any questions in the chat. And I'll put my Instagram, or I'll just say it. It's basically just my first and last name if you guys have any questions after. And moving forward, if you guys want to participate on future calls, then definitely just DM me. It's the best way. And yeah, so let's get to it, right? So the outline of really my mission and my purpose moving forward to continue to do these weekly calls is basically about how to attract success, right? Success is not something that you're trying to grab, that you're trying to figure out how to get. It's something, it's someone, and it's who you become that attracts success, right? It's crazy, but if you really think of it and you're like, damn, I got a lot of work to do if I ain't successful. Facts. True, you do have a lot of work to do, which is why we're doing these calls, right? To implement new strategies and new ways of being, right? So it's on how you can improve your results. I'm going over the outline, just basic things that I'll be talking about and what you could be expecting in the future and today. And basically improving your human patterns and habits, all these things that you may not decipher or detect on really what you do and how you are, right? It's kind of self-analyzing yourself and really the importance of what you focus on a day-to-day. Really your thoughts and the role that those thoughts play in your life and your business and your family and everything, steps to change, like if you're eager to change for the better. And really, lastly, closing the gap of where you are now to where you want to be, right? Many people are like, man, I could see it's far away, but that gap is huge. So how can we lessen, how can we close that gap to get to our goals, right? All right, so the first week, guys, remember it's 3 weeks. I'm going to be moving kind of fast, but 3 weeks, I'm going to consolidate it all in less than 30 minutes, right? And then next week, we'll be going over, for those who continue to join, just one particular subject. And for those who are just jumping on, I'm kind of summing up all 3 weeks because these Monday calls with me, Juliet's husband, has been going over certain topics, and it's been about 3 weeks again. So I'm just going to go over it just today on this call, and then moving forward next week, it'll be a new topic, though I'll be connecting all of them because that's what I like to do. And I kind of like to see how y'all are doing from last week and say, hey, did you implement some of the things you've learned, right? All right. So I love it. On Gabby's screen, I see Jake. What up, Jake? Sorry. I know. I'm going to take a few seconds. All right. Big shout out to Jake. All right, let's go. First week, okay? First week was talking about mastering our focus. Mastering our focus, and through life's experiences, we need to detect, based off of what happens, where do we really put the focus, right? And unfortunately, and I'm just going to be frank and real about how us humans are naturally throughout life's experiences. The majority of our focus when we experience things are usually on the negative. Your current situation right now, whatever you're going through, doesn't matter. You're probably experiencing some sort of worry or fear. Whatever it is, you're experiencing that. The economy, when you think about the economy, you're kind of like, I don't know, I'm thinking negative. It can drop, it can crash, it can fall. These are all natural things. Our thoughts, from the thousands we have a day, 80% of them are negative naturally. See, so you can see the patterns that we've created. When you try new things, maybe it's this business. When you try new things, naturally, you are going to experience limiting beliefs. I'm not good enough. How can I get better? Why would someone want to buy my products? Why would someone want to join me? And your current results, whatever you are experiencing as a result today, whatever it is, you may not be satisfied. I guarantee you're not satisfied. And you sometimes feel like you're not good enough because you want better results, but you're not yet the person that can attract those results, right? And these are all common things, but you need to understand, we're still on week 1. You need to understand that focus equals reality and it equals feelings. Based off of what you focus is going to generate and create your reality and how you feel. So here's the scenario, right? When your prospect says you're trying to reach out, maybe for one to start the business, and they're like, nah, I'm not interested. You can create the pattern and focus on how you're not good enough being the reason they didn't say yes. So basically your reality is damn, they said no because I'm not good enough. Right? Focus equals feelings. It equals your reality. Now, or same scenario, you can create patterns that lead your focus to feeling grateful that there's billions of people on this earth. So you feel amazing that there's so many more people to talk to and you can bless with your products and services. So your reality is now limitless to how many people you can meet and bless. See how the same scenario created 2 different realities. It all depends on how you look at it. And that week's assignment was to remember that focus equals reality and focus equals feelings. So shift your reality in other real life scenarios. That was that weekly kind of mission to really identify where you actually naturally put the focus on. All right. So here's a regular life scenario. Someone cuts you off. You're driving on 95. I mentioned this the first week. I was like, man, Juliet and I, when we're driving, we'll be going at it. The focus is really how are these crazy people having their license? And it gets crazy in Miami, definitely when we're going to visit some friends, right? But someone cuts you off. What are you naturally thinking about? Just think of it. What do you think if someone cuts you off? You're like, what the hell? You're trying to maybe detect who the hell is driving. Could be an old person. I don't know. Maybe they're recklessly driving. Maybe they're driving so slow. You're generalizing based off of who the hell is behind that wheel. Your focus is on that person. Maybe you got some anger rage. Maybe you're going to flick them off. Maybe you hope they crash. You see where your focus is going? It's basically on wasted energy, right? I mean, you feel better, but all in all, you need to identify how you naturally react to certain scenarios that are somewhat like that. The same scenario, that's the first way you react, right? Your focus is on them and all the things you wish you could do to them. Maybe like stated previously, you want them to just run off a ditch, whatever it is, right? That's your focus. Or you're just grateful that he or she didn't hit you, and your action now is to live in a state of gratitude, making you feel happy to be alive and safe. So this changed your reality of living in a state of anger to now being grateful. You see, I've studied quite a bit of successful people, and it's just something that I continuously love to do. But, people that attract successful people, they master their focus on gratitude, and they create patterns that can have them living in the most optimal state. Because remember, where focus goes, energy flows, guys. I know that was a lot, but that was week 1, all right? So week 2 was mastering our thoughts and where they should be going, all right? So our thoughts can either be negative or positive, and it's either on the past, present, or future. And the majority of one's thoughts are usually in the past, which is not good, but I'll explain. But naturally, we always revert back to the past, thinking the same thoughts, performing the same actions, having the same emotions, and expecting their life to change. All right. Here's an example of living in the past and it not being the most optimal place to live in. All right. So you got to think of the scenario, guys, and you're going to be texting in the chat. I know I'm not reading in the chat. A lot of people are saying stuff. but I could answer questions at the end. I just want to roll through all 3 weeks. I know it's a lot of pressure today, but usually it's a lot slower. All right, so here's a scenario. I want you guys really to participate. I'll know based off of participation who's really wanting to grow in this business or even grow in themselves, right? So think of a potential that's really going to be reaching out to you. You're on, your DMs, whatever, and like someone reached out to you, and then you noticed who reached out asking to like jump on a call to like want to know about this opportunity. Like they just want to get more info. But this person is someone you admire. Maybe you don't know them that much. They have so many followers. They have so much more influence than you, more followers than you. They've had way more success in your kind of business, network marketing, and in other businesses. You're like, what the hell? What are you thinking right now when they're like, oh my gosh, like, hey, can we jump on a call? I want more info on your, like, whatever you're doing. It seems interesting, but you got to think of that person who reached out, that kind of person. What emotions, like, what are you thinking about in that state or in throughout that circumstance? And you can type in the chat, like, how are you feeling? Like, what's your emotions? Like, is it kind of like a little overwhelming? Like, naturally, like, what do you think? And I'll read some if you guys want to type out, and I'll continue going, but just want to see some responses. Like, how do you feel? Are you scared? Are you doubting? Like, are they going to meet the real you now that you're going to jump on a call? Right. Overwhelmed, nervous. Okay, cool. Overwhelmed, nervous. Like, based off of these thoughts, the majority of them, though you're excited, the majority of people would react and their focus would be on the past, thinking of their past results, thinking of the worst of themselves. Like, hey, why me? Why would this person be reaching out to me, right? Like, what do I have? Maybe they're going to see the real me. Like, can I really help? You'll experience some doubt and you'll kind of start like questioning yourself and really thinking, are you good enough, right? So it's just to understand and to make you realize how naturally we revert to something negative, how naturally we think of something negative and we draw false conclusions from our past, all right? But successful people, guys, successful people, and some of you answered surprisingly well, but the majority of people, to make sure you put this into practice, successful people, they really tried to live in the most optimal place, focusing on visions of the future. That means that, oh my gosh, imagine where we can go. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting to talk about something that can change their life, right? That can change someone's life, that can change my life. It's never reverting back, it's always pushing forward. So instead of the memories of the past, you're always focused on visions of the future. This is where successful people live, guys, and it's called the unknown, all right? So be attracted to the unknown. Here's an example of you living in the unknown and the benefits of it, right? So think of when you first started Q Science. Think of when you first started Q Science. It was basically the unknown. You only got a little info, but you were like, all right, you know what? I'll commit to this. But what were you really doing? Your thoughts were on the future. Your thoughts, when you said yes, you were in an elevated state thinking of what you could receive in the future from this. And though it was very scary and it was the unknown, but in this place of the unknown for you guys to know, so you can create patterns to try to live in the unknown, is where you make new choices, is where you can have the confidence to reach out to someone that you're scared to talk to. We all got those people, guys. You refuse to do it. It's like on the last to-do list and you never make the time. You're like, yeah, probably not interested. You can create that reel that has more to do about your business and less to do about just nothing at all, but you're just trying to create content. And you can actually try to make it a mission to lead a potential call, right? Because you're going to think of who you're going to become to start attracting success and take on those basic responsibilities that you eventually need to. So when you're in that elevated state, guys, know specifically that your brain works differently, and that's where real change occurs, okay? Real change doesn't happen in the past, not in the present. It's living in your future. It's living in the unknown. So that assignment for that week 2, was to focus on visions of the future instead of the memories of the past, change your thought patterns,
This is how you can create a new you and a new way of thinking to start attracting success. All right, last week, guys, week 3, this was last week. All right, so the takeaway last week was mastering our human patterns and figuring out how to close the gap from where you are now to where you want to be. I'm sorry if I'm really talking fast. I hope this is all making sense. I know it's like, holy cow, there's a lot of content, but I can assure you guys, take something away from this, all right? Take something away from this, apply it, and we'll stay consistent every week, and you'll see massive change in who you are and even the people that you attract. It's insane. All right, so now we talked about the takeaways from week 3. Again, right in the chat, guys, participate, all right? What do you want from this opportunity, out of this opportunity? We kind of all know the answers. They're all standard, but please participate, type it out so I can see the name. What do you want from this opportunity? It's probably basically traditional. It's like conventional, right? Like everyone's going to basically have something similar, but just kind of identify it with yourself. Don't copy someone else's answer. Think for yourself, truly, what do you want? Not what you think someone else wants you to write or type. What do you really want? The best thing we can do is definitely not to look at me or put any focus on me and what I'm wearing in my room and where I am. It's to look within, guys, right? That's the whole mission. And I usually say it in the beginning of calls, don't even look at me. It doesn't matter. It's really to try to go in depth on who you are and who do you want to become in this opportunity, because this is an uncomfortable state, but it's beautiful. It's amazing. All right. So we got cool. Financial freedom, grow as a person. Love it. Awesome. Going through them a little bit. All right. This is true to yourself, right? True to yourself. Awesome. 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 Yeah. As we thought, but these are real. This is your answer and it's no one else's, right? So think about this. All right. So that's what you want out of this opportunity. Now let's fast forward in the future. Boom. You already got that. You got it. However long it took, a month, a year, 10 years, 20 years, whatever. You're 80 years old in network marketing and you're freaking loving life and you're freaking making all this money. You got all this thing, whatever it is, you reached it. Now envision that. You got it. You hit your goal. This is amazing. Now, you don't have to answer these questions in the chat, but I just want you to think of the answers, answer it to yourself. All right. So first, what are the sacrifices you believe you had to make? Remember, you're already successful. You got to think of in the future, you already hit those goals, what you want out of this opportunity. What are the sacrifices you believe you had to make? You don't have to type it in the chat. Just think it, just answer it to yourself. Are they different from your current sacrifices that you make now? Are they different from your current sacrifices that you make now? Who do you think you actually had to become? Has your mindset and philosophy changed? Do you think your perseverance and resilience had to increase or decrease? You're just answering these questions to yourself. You're trying to detect and understand, right, something about yourself, where you are now to where you want to go. Is it going to take a different type of person? Do you think your ability to come up with solutions has increased or decreased? You see, all these questions kind of make you realize, damn, this is real. For success, to attract success, for better results, it's going to take a different you. It's going to be able to take out all the flaws and all the issues that you have and confront them and change, right? This is what I love about these calls, guys. You can take away anything and apply it. And there's so many different topics, there's so many different things, but as long as you're increasing and growing, you're going to get further along in life. And I think that's what we all want, right? So to close the gap from where you are to where you want to be, you can identify that it's going to take a different type of person, right? All right. So one of the biggest mistakes, guys, when we're on week 3, right? When we're talking about human patterns, one of the biggest mistakes that people unfortunately fall for, and it's okay because we're all conditioned, but when you can identify a problem, that's when you can fix it. It's this bad pattern to really think and love and be drawn to and fall for the short-term pleasures of life. And as a result, you will experience long-term pain. All right, don't worry, I'll give some examples. I always love to give examples. The wrongful patterns and the things we fall short of, guys, is constantly, for those who heard last week, you're like, oh, I remember this. Yes, but it's good to even go over it for y'all too. Always falling short and falling for the short-term pleasures, guys, but as a result, you will experience long-term pain. All right. 3 examples. Instead of giving 110% to prospecting, which will probably give you long-term pleasure, we choose to watch just 1 episode of Netflix, which will give you short-term pleasure, right? We've sacrificed the long-term pleasure for short-term pleasure. And as a result, you may experience long-term pain because you won't be where you want to be in your business over time, right? All right, second example, instead of brainstorming with your team on hosting an event, which can give you most likely long-term pleasure, we choose to persuade ourselves that staying home, scrolling through Instagram in case we might run into a potential is just as beneficial for our business, which will probably give you short-term pleasure, right? Not having to get dressed, not having to get uncomfortable. Third example, guys, instead of writing your goals down and putting deadlines on them, which will probably most likely give you long-term pleasure, we wing it and recite it in our minds, believing just because we thought of it once or twice, that should do it. That will give you short-term pleasure. You see, successful people sacrifice the short-term pleasure, which is Netflix, scrolling, hell, maybe even posting because you're so busy, and put their focus on long-term pleasure, change, intentional adversity situations, uncomfortable where you need to kind of solve problems. You don't know if you're going to be good enough, but you'll attack it anyways because you'll adapt, right? And get stronger because of it. Intentional challenges and discomfort. This is where successful people live. All right. So 2 patterns, guys, 2 patterns that I believe we all need to change. All right. And this is me just being frank. All right. Honestly, there's a false perception here, guys, and it's okay. Sometimes marketing, that's just how it works. This false perception is what I don't want humans in general to fall for. You don't want to live with this false perception of thinking it won't take much work to become successful and reach your goals. Because if you continue to think in this false pattern, your brain will get frustrated and confused, questioning why you're not where you want to be with only putting minimal effort and expecting that minimal effort to produce maximum results. This pattern and this way of thinking is not realistic for a successful business, guys. Maybe Brittany Hitch, maybe when you're at that level, you may not work as much, right? But at this point in time, all of what you want and everything that you type in the chat is going to take so much more work than you think. And what you don't want is to basically fall for this false perception. Okay, whatever was marketed, you have to realize and identify there's going to take a lot of work behind this, but it's really what you want. And if you don't want it, then you won't get it. The second thing I think and pattern that we need to change is our mental endurance. I think the majority of us lack an immense amount of endurance mentally. And it's what makes up our decision to feel like we've done enough for the day. Like that time where we want to call it quits, right? There's a level of limitations and patterns that create that time of you thinking you've done enough for the day. It's like, what makes enough, right? But in order to increase these limitations, you need to, and you should write this down, though you should have written down a lot of stuff, but you should write down this specifically because it's kind of hidden in here. You can pass it really fast, unlike the other things. You need to interrupt your current pattern. All right, it's a real thing. You need to interrupt your current pattern. When you think enough is enough, it's time to interrupt that pattern. If you want to attract success, if you want to produce better results, if you don't want to be stagnant. And when you interrupt that pattern, right, you need to replace it with resources that fits your reasoning of why you're working this business. So basically saying, when you are ready to give up, you're like, wait, I want to interrupt that pattern. Now, what's going to fuel that ambition and motivation for me to keep going? Oh, it's what I typed in the chat. It's financial freedom. It's the why. It's those reasons that's going to fuel that, right? So for an example, after working 30 minutes or an hour straight and you need a break, right? You're like, oof, this is a pattern. I usually do that. And then I scroll through Instagram or, oof, yeah, that's a pattern. And then I'll just take a break, right? How do you interrupt it? You have to break the pattern by saying or by doing, you know what? I usually do 30 to an hour. I'll do I'll do an hour and 15 minutes. I'll do an hour and 30 minutes. And what's going to fuel and give me that energy, like stated previously, the why, the financial freedom, the spend time with your family, all those things. Hey,
I didn't type it. You typed it. Like, don't try to make it up and say, oh, well, yeah, I just want, well, then do you really want that? Because that's what's going to fuel your availability to increase that mental endurance. And that's what it's going to take to get to levels that you're really looking for, right? That's just a reality. So you don't fall for the false perception of thinking, hey, let me get the maximum results with the least amount of effort. You're just not there yet because you're not at a place where you can kind of transcend and go over that kind of lifestyle where you can do less. You got to work right now, right? You got to build your brand. You got to build you. You got to be able to withstand all those barriers and all those things, right? So for the assignment of that week, guys, I'm almost done. For the assignment of week 3 was to identify what are the short-term pleasures you make that can actually produce long-term pain, right? What are the short-term pleasures you make that can actually produce long-term pain? Now you're going to think about it moving forward after this call. Whatever it is that you feel like doing, and you're like, is that going to give me long-term pain or long-term pleasure? It's probably not worth it, right? It's probably not worth it to fall for the short-term pleasure, right? When you identify those things, catch yourself wanting short-term pleasure, break the pattern by focusing on the long-term goals, on the long-term pleasure. And remember, interrupt that pattern, right? And what's going to fuel that is your why. This is going to build your mental endurance, right? It's going to give you that endurance to do the things that most people are unwilling to do, that don't do, right? All right. So the last part of the assignment, guys, was for those who think they have done all they can for the day. There's a lot of people that are like, and they don't say it, they don't tell anyone, but I'm human just like you. I know it exists. You're like, oh, yeah, it's all, there's really nothing else I could do. I mean, I've done it all, like that's it. I deserve like a break. Like I did the basic stuff. No. All right. So a good psychologist that said on Instagram, and I love this, he said, and this is what I want you guys to think at that moment when you're like, oh yeah, I've done it all for the day. We're good. I got nothing else. Ask yourself this question, guys, and write this down too. What do I need to start doing that I'm willing to do, but I haven't done yet for myself and my business, right? What do I need to start doing that I'm willing to do, but haven't done yet for myself and my business? And then he goes on to say, you meditate on that question and you'll get an answer, but it won't be the one you want, but it'll be the necessary one for change. I was like, man, that is so true. People are doing all this kind of, yeah. I mean, it's crazy, but it's real. So be real with yourself, right? That's the point of these calls. I'm not trying to wear fancy clothes or wear anything. I'm trying to dig within myself, but as a result, take this information and dig within yourself and figure it out. Like, what do I need to do that I'm willing to do, but haven't yet done that you're kind of thrown under the rug, right? All right, so the last 2 reminders, guys, before I go, sorry, usually they're not this long. All right, so the reminder, our survival instinct, things to remember, our survival instinct is to avoid pain. That's true. And repeat what gives us pleasure. But be careful to not confuse short-term pleasure with long-term pleasure. All right? All right. Last reminder, enhance your mental endurance, break your patterns, stay focused on what's going to give you long-term pleasure, because this will close the gap of where you are now to where you want to be. All right. Love you guys. My Insta is just first name, last name, Pierce Drexler. If you have any questions, please. But yeah, I leave you guys with that. I'll see you all next Monday.